Yeah, so I guess, Michael, is that in your time at the club, is that the most devastating day you've had, pretty much?
It was a very disappointing day. And you probably got to separate a little bit of the first half to the second half, really. It's we don't step away from how the game was set up. Wasn't set up the way we wanted it to. Had a very more Hawthorn feel to it than us. And so the game, I still felt like, even though we were going a bit toe-to-toe there for periods of the first half, it still wasn't quite us. And then obviously the bank up of energy and was sort of robbed from us in the second half, and obviously kept running as you'd expect them to do, and we lost some troops. So that was made it a bit hard for us to be able to sort of sustain any intensity in the game. So we fought it out that way. But if you took an overall picture, I don't think really disappointment does it justice. There's probably a bit more in it. Yeah.
Bossy, can you take us through the injury toll, and how bad they are? I know you're probably going to say you don't know too much, but what do you know so far?
So far we've got. Jordan Boyd played pretty much with a doctor for most of the game, so he was on one leg, doing the best he possibly could to try and help us. Obviously Martin with the hamstring, Foggy with shoulder, Sardi with a hamstring. And obviously Charlie with the ankle, so he couldn't figure in any part of the game. So yeah, not ideal, but at the same time, it'll be. We'll find out a bit about us in the next couple of weeks. So it's a bit of a blow how the days panned out, but we're going to find out a bit about us. And there's an opportunity that's sitting right in front of us, and you don't wish those away. We're in a spot where we're going to see it out as strong as we can, and we've got to put some excitement around that, and that's what I'd prefer to be able to go after, and that's probably what we'll start to turn our eyes to in a couple of days' time. But at the moment, for 24 hours at least, we sit in the disappointment.
Are they strained hammies? Do you know if they're...
Oh, no, I couldn't tell you that. Yeah, that's the part I can't tell you. I can tell you the area they're looking at, but they certainly were not good enough to go on. So we'll get the scans like we normally do. Probably likely happen tomorrow, and then we'll go from there.
And what have you made of the soft tissue injuries in general? It's been a massive issue for the club all year. We've heard Andrew Russell's obviously stepping away. More sort of soft tissue injuries today. What have you made of the whole thing?
No, it's been an ongoing challenge for us. Look, the reality is that in this competition, availability is important. There'll be time to reflect on that. It's not now. But the way forward for us is that obviously we need to address it, and it'll get a fairly strong focus when we need it to. But right now, it'll be about the troops we've got and finishing off this season as strong as we possibly can, and that's what we intend to do.
Just on Charlie, how close was he to not playing, and did you take a bit of a risk today given what was on the line?
No. It's given what we're managing there, we probably just sort of accept that it's going to be a little bit like that for the rest of the season until he can get a rest really. So ideally he doesn't roll that ankle and he's okay. He's still moving around okay, but it's just something he's just going to have to manage. But no, he was fine to go. He got through parts of training a couple of days ago. Got running again yesterday. So coming in, it's unfortunately it's just a bit of a niggle that players get at this stage of the year, and it's one of those we're going to have to manage.
It looked like he could hardly put any weight on it, and obviously he was ruled out of the game pretty promptly. Is there any idea as to the severity?
No, I couldn't tell you. No, it's very. You've heard every coach that ever sits in this chair and tries to assess what an injury is. As we don't get too much of that right. So we'll just take 24 hours and we'll obviously make sure that we get the right assessment, and then we can give you the accurate details rather than just a bit of a guess.
I know you said you're obviously looking towards now to the final 2 weeks, but I guess finding yourself in this situation, you were in the top two for a couple of months, now you're ninth at the crucial part of the year. How disappointing is that part of the season?
Oh, we lost momentum. There's no doubt. From where we were, 5-6 weeks ago, we had genuine momentum, and we faced a couple of good sides, and we haven't been able to generate the same level of intensity and the same level of method that we've been playing for the majority of the year. So We've spent a considerable amount of time in the last little while to be able to try and find out where that spark comes from, and we were starting to get some players returning into some familiar positions, but some forms just sort of fluctuate. Their own individual forms fluctuate a little, and that whole consistency thing. And for us, that's I've spoken about it the whole year, learning how to be that consistent home and away team, and it's not about the level you play at for 1 week. It's about how you play that level for 23 weeks and finals. And as a football club, we haven't been able to do that yet. It wasn't here before I got here, and hasn't been at a good enough standard, since I've been here. So it's the way you play, it's the player availability, it's our program. We've got to get some consistency within our club. So the way we'll treat this is that we'll treat it with that level of consistency. We'll treat it with what's real and what's not real, and we won't get ourselves distracted and sensationalise the injuries. We've got them. It's unfortunate. And we'll move forward, and we'll get the next man in, and they've got to get the job done. Because, as I said, we're not going to lie down. We're coming forward, and we're going to finish off this season strong.
Is it frustrating that when you talk about, because you're looking so good for such a long part of the season, and you mentioned the inconsistency sort of hit you again when probably you looked like things were on the right track. Is it sort of frustrating to work out where it's come from, or how to sort of attack
I just don't use words like frustration and.
Okay.
It was an extremely disappointing day today on a lot of fronts, and it's not the standard that we're about as a club. So I imagine our supporters might be frustrated. But what we've got to do is we'll look at the game, we'll unpack it, we'll see what went right and what didn't. We'll put a lot of attention into the first half of the game to find out defensively how it was a real challenge for us. We'll find out how it was a challenge for us that we couldn't get that connection inside 50 that we're after. We'll go to work on how our contest wasn't at the high enough standard and why we only had 19 tackles in the first half. So there's a few layers to that, but that's the layers that we'll get after.
Vossi, just on Andrew Russell, was that purely his decision, or was it mutual?
No, we've been talking with Jack for probably about 7 or 8 weeks, and he sort of conveyed that at that point in time he was thinking about being able to do something else. So. The latest conversation we had was merely confirming that next direction, and we've been very fortunate to be able to have him in our football club. And what this isn't about, regardless of what Andrew's chosen to do, is it's not about one person. It's about a collective, and we'll solve the problem together. And that's what we do. We don't solve it by ourselves. We solve it all together, and that's what we'll ask the players to do, and that's what we'll make sure that we do.
So it's definitely his decision?
Absolutely his decision to be able to do it. Yep. So, and he decided to step aside, and he's going off to do something else, and we're very supportive of that as a football club. He probably feels like there's a need for us to be able to go in a different direction, and we wish him well. And at the right time, we obviously start to expand who we look for to be able to replace.
So was that part of what he said as well? He felt like it hadn't worked, and that it was probably.
I'm not going to go into too much details around the conversations. I mean, we obviously have a fair few of them, and some of them I can share with you, and obviously some we don't. So we'll keep some of the rest of that to ourselves.
Vossi, how confident are you of getting back to your best form in the last 2 games? And do you try anything bold now, or anything sort of drastic now that you're back down the pack and trying to climb into the top 8?
Right now, I'm not sitting here saying that there's enormously confident about anything outside of living in the disappointment of where we are right now. I've got a really strong belief about what this team can do. I've got extremely strong belief around the characters that are part of this football club and the ones that are leading it. And so for me, that's where my confidence lies. It lies in the people, but there'll be something in this response. Yeah, there'll be something in this response. And it's not going to get given to us clearly. We've got to earn the right. So, yeah, it'll be important to see what response there is for us as a club.
Clearly right now you're stuck in disappointment. How hard is it going to be to shake that off in 48 hours?
No, we do that because that's the world we live in. Where it's 24 hours, we live in that space and then we move forward. We've done that when we've won, and we'll do that when we lose. And we talk about consistency, and that's where our consistency, we're coming in here saying that we want to get better every single day. So what does that lie? Our job is to be able to provide the clarity around what that looks like, make it simple to understand, make it really clear, so the players know that what they need to get after. So, but out of the performance tonight, yeah, we'll obviously have to look at it pretty closely and what are the things that we need to be able to stimulate, create, but also double down on, and that's probably where we're at now.
Can you pick Jack Martin again this season, Posse, in terms of injury history?
That is, I can't answer because I don't know the extent of what he's done.
You say not confident of anything at the moment, which is understandable, but do you have a faith that players can make the finals from this position that you're in?
Belief, absolutely. No problem at all. So that's because of as what I highlighted before around our people. Let's find out a bit more about us as a team, as a club. And there's a response, and there is a great opportunity that is right in front of us. You do not give those away, and you do not kick that down the road. So we'll live in the moment, and we'll make sure we've got a couple of weeks in front of us. We've got next week, obviously, against West Coast, and we'll be going out there to produce our best.
Just with Jack Martin, how difficult is it knowing he's out of contract and with his significant injury history now to figure out his value and what you need to do?
I think we sort of talk about those things at the end of the year. That's not really a sort of conversation that sits in after a loss, and you've got some time to go in the season. We'll have all those conversations at the right time, but it's not now. Cheers. Thank you.